Hi dear fans, friends and subscribers, welcome to the Cricket Happening Show today. Well, in this Cricket Happening Show, we saw we just had the close of play on the first day of this third test match between West Indies and South Africa, where West Indies definitely, I would say, the honors were even. West Indies definitely recovered from they didn't get a good start, but definitely recovered to a total of 276 for 6 towards the close. And also, I'll be talking about that game. And then Sri Lanka and New Zealand would be taking on each other in the, I think it is going to be the second test match, which is going to be played, and that is going to be played at Hamilton, I suppose. No, it's going to be played at the Hagley Oval. Not at the Hagley Oval, I'm sorry. It's going to be played at the Basin Reserve in Wellington. As you know, Basin Reserve in Wellington, it really assists the bowlers. So it will be pretty interesting. I'll come to the pitch conditions and everything later. But first, let me just give you the first day's play report on this particular match between West Indies and South Africa, where actually it was the West Indies who actually won the toss, and Dinesh Ramadhan, the West Indian captain, decided to bat first. Well, West Indies decided that on this pitch at Newlands in Cape Town, they would actually go with more batsmen than bowlers. And what they did is they decided to drop Ken Roy Peters, who made his debut in the previous test, and instead included Jermaine Blackwood. And Jermaine Blackwood definitely justified his inclusion in the team, as he had an unbeaten 45, which was very well made, with 5 fours at the crease. He was at the crease when West Indies, when it was when stumps were drawn on day 1. So West Indies, and as far as South Africa were concerned, they decided to drop Imran Tahir, and they decided to bring in the right-arm off-spinner Simon Harmer, who actually made his test debut, and what a wonderful debut he had. In fact, he had 3 wickets for 67 runs in his first stint, in the sense making his test debut. Simon Harmer definitely did well to pick up 3 wickets for 67 runs, and he also picked up a very most important wicket of Shivnarine Chanderpaul, who continued to struggle in this series. Well, so just talking about the day's proceedings in this particular match between West Indies and South Africa, it all started with Craig Braithwaite and Devon Smith walking into bat as openers, and in fact Dale Steyn was the one who drew first blood pretty quickly for South Africa, as he got Braithwaite to actually edge a delivery onto Elgar, and he was gone for 7 with 1 boundary, so he was gone. That was the first wicket to go. After that, Leon Johnson came in and joined Devon Smith. Devon Smith was trying to get his form back, and he was doing it pretty well with some nice strokes. And then Leon Johnson, who was joining him, was totally aggressive. I mean, he really brought some very good strokes. In fact, he was I would say he was living a bit fortuitously, I would say, because he was actually pulling the short balls, it was going over the fielders, and he was playing the pull shot where it was actually sailing for boundaries. But definitely there was a lot of aggression in the innings that Leon Johnson played. He really rode his luck, one could say, but he definitely kept on pulling the short deliveries and dealt with the short ball with good effect. And this partnership between Devon Smith and Johnson slowly enabled West Indies to really push up things, as they scored, they had a partnership of exactly 50 runs for the second wicket. And while things were going on pretty well, that was the time just before lunch. It was Simon Harmer actually making his debut, bowling this 4th over in Test cricket. And Simon Harmer, let me tell you, looks to be, I was having a look at his action, he looks pretty, he has a decent height to actually bowl the off-spin, so that he could really get some bounce out of the pitch. And we also saw that Simon Harmer has a very good bowling action, a very smooth bowling action for an off-spinner, and besides he flights the ball pretty well. And what was seen is that he immediately got the reward, as Devon Smith was caught. He was trying to cut a delivery from Harmer, and he could only see it actually go on, hit the stumps. And Devon Smith was the first maiden test wicket for Simon Harmer, the right-arm off-spinner, and Devon Smith was gone for 47 with 8 fours. In fact, Simon Harmer, the right-arm off-spinner, was actually bowling with his goggles on, and as I said, he looks to be a very decent spinner. definitely we saw some variety in his bowling, and he looks to be a very good prospect, and probably that was the reason they decided to prefer Simon Harmer for Imran Tahir, who was dropped. And I'm told Imran Tahir has been dropped probably many times in his 4-year Test career. He was once again dropped. So Devon Smith, after that, once Devon Smith was gone, they resumed back. Marlon Samuels came in and joined Leon Johnson. Leon Johnson continued to entertain, but then finally it was once again Simon Harmer coming into the picture as he dismissed Leon Johnson for his maiden 50 in Test cricket. As Leon Johnson was gone, LBW bowled Simon Harmer for 54 with 9 boundaries. That made it 131 for 3. And then Samuels came in. Samuels really wanted to send Morne Morkel, as he was hit on the helmet. He wanted to send Morne Morkel absolutely into the crowd, but he actually missed it. And then he realized that he needs to really observe some restraint, and that's what he precisely did. And in company with Shivanand Chandrapal, went on to make 43 runs. And well, as he reached 43, that was the time Marlon Samuels. Now this was very interesting. It was just before tea time. Stein Van Zyl, the part-time bowler, medium pacer, was bowling, and Marlon Samuels could have probably played it with a more restraint there, especially considering the tea was approaching. But I thought Marlon Samuels was in a bit of a hurry, as what he did is he tried to actually slap Stein Van Zyl through the extra cover region, but it ended up in a tame catch for du Plessis. And what a shame! It is a pretty loose delivery. The ball was wide off the off stump, and Marlon Samuels reached for it, and he paid the penalty. Caught du Plessis, bowled Van Zyl. Van Zyl getting his maiden wicket, maiden Test wicket. He was gone, so Samuels was gone for 43 with 6 boundaries, and that partnership added 31 runs for the 4th wicket. After that, after tea time, it was Chandrapal, so they had 2 new batsmen at the crease, Chandrapal and Blackwood. Jermaine Blackwood, in the brief stay at his crease, looked impressive. And after tea, the very first delivery, it was Simon Harmer, the random off-spinner, who was bowling. And what a delivery! Shivanand Chandrapal was definitely trying to regain his form, had got 9 runs to his name at tea time. And after tea, immediately the first ball itself, Simon Harmer struck, as he actually fired down a ball down the leg side. Chandrapal was scraping to actually flick it, and in the process he was going out of the crease. And what a stumping, what a magnificent piece of stumping by David de Villiers, showing absolute reflexes as he whipped off the bails in a flash, and Shivanand Chandrapal couldn't believe it. He was caught off the crease, and Chandrapal had to walk back to the pavilion, stumped by de Villiers with the bowling of Simon Harmer for 9 with 1 boundary, and which was a very bad start for West Indies, as the score read 172 for 5. In walked in another out of form person, and that was the West Indian captain Dinesh Ramadhan, to join Jermaine Blackwood. Dinesh Ramadhan took his time, but then he started flowing into his strokes. He started playing his strokes and slowly was pushing himself into some form. But at the other end, Jermaine Blackwood was looking very impressive. He was playing some neat strokes, nice strokes, and he was also showing a very good defense. And both of them slowly stitched together a partnership. From 172 for 5, which was where West Indies were placed, it was looking pretty ominous at that stage, with 172 for 5 at the crease, 72 for 5 on the board. And then Dinesh Ramadhan slowly got himself into some form, and Jermaine Blackwood supported him admirably, and the partnership went on to raise 94 valuable runs for the 6th wicket, at which phase Dinesh Ramadhan had gone on to his first 50 in this Test series. And what a 50 it was. And finally, when he was looking good, Dale Steyn caught him off his own bowling to send him back for 53 with 6 boundaries, and Jason Holder came in, and then Jermaine Blackwood and Jason Holder had to really put the shutters down and play for stumps, and that they did it precisely, with Jermaine Blackwood unbeaten on a very impressive 45 with 5 boundaries. Jason Holder was not out on 5, and West Indies finished the day on a very, very impressive 276 for 6. The bowling, as I said, Simon Harmer was the pick of the bowlers on his Test debut, bowling 25 overs, 5 maiden, 67 runs and 3 wickets. Stood up the Test pretty well there. Dale Steyn, 21 overs, 5 maiden, 59 runs and 2 wickets for him. Philander 16 overs 2 minutes none for 54. Monty Markel was wicketless, 18 overs 1 minute none for 74. Stein Van Zyl getting the gifted wicket of Samuels, 8 overs 2 minutes 1 for 13. And Dean Elgar 2 overs none for 6. So West Indies definitely looking good. They still have don't have a lot of batting to come after this pair of Blackwood and Jason Holder. So they would assume that these two could really put up some fine partnership tomorrow. But again, that is going to be pretty interesting as to how they play the South African bowling. Well, from here, I'm going to do a short preview of the second Test match, which is coming up between New Zealand and Sri Lanka. As far as the second Test is concerned, it's going to be played at the Basin Reserve in Wellington. As we all know, Basin Reserve in Wellington is something where wind is always going to be a factor, and also bowlers will get a lot of assistance. So it would be the seamers would be in business for sure. So seaman swing would be the talk of the day. And it has been a seamer's paradise right through the days of Richard Hadley days, as you would remember. And it is going to be very interesting. There would be some pace, there would be some bounce, and this is going to be played at Basin Reserve in Wellington, which is always called the seamer's paradise. And well, it is the Sri Lankans who would be under total pressure. So for the Sri Lanka, well, the good thing that has happened to them is that Dimuth Karunaratne has played himself into some form with a century, in fact a big century at that, in that match that they lost in the first Test. Kaushal Silva is a very compact little batsman, and they would hope for a good start from these two openers. Kumar Sangakkara would be trying to get his form back, probably get some runs under his belt in this particular Test match, as he failed in both the innings in the previous Test match, being the bunny boy of Trent Boult. Laido Tiramane also has to bring his best, I would say, his best. He has to put up his best show there. Angelo Matthews always leading from the front, as I said. And then they would be prompted. I was told that Dinesh Chandimal would probably come and strengthen the batting department there, and probably he will be coming in for Niroshan Dikwala. So that would be interesting to see how Dinesh Chandimal shapes up. Prasanna Jayawardene, the wicketkeeper batsman, and then it would be another thing is that whether as you know, this particular Basin Reserve in Wellington is something for the seamers. So probably whether Rangana Herath, who is fit now, would replace Tarindu Kaushal, who was impressive in the first Test match. That's going to be a moot point. But as far as Sri Lanka are concerned, they definitely have the bowlers who are capable of actually using the conditions at the Basin Reserve in Wellington, in the form of Damika Prasad, or whether Nuwan Pradeep would probably get a look in, one does not know. Probably one would be tempted to go with Damika Prasad. Shaminda Ranga, who could do a lot of things on this pitch, and Suranga Lakmal, who could be the ace for Sri Lanka in this pack at the Basin Reserve in Wellington, according to me, because he can swing the ball both ways. New Zealand, well, they have they have more knowledge about the conditions, so they know what to expect. As far as New Zealand are concerned, the opening combination, they would be Tom Latham has shown that he's in some sort of form, but Hamish Rutherford has been really struggling, and I'm told that Hamish Rutherford, after making that 174 on his Test debut against England, he has not even made a single 50 in his 25 Test matches, which is pretty sad, and one only hopes that Hamish Rutherford gets going here. And then they have the solidity of Kane Williamson. They have the wonderful player Ross Taylor slotted in next, and Brendan McCullum, the captain, who really took the game away from Sri Lanka in the first Test. He's always a danger man for Sri Lanka. And the all-rounder James Neesham also did pretty well in the first Test. BJ Watling, the wicketkeeper, is a very compact batsman. And then they have the bowlers to really contend with, and the bowling, as you know, Tim Southee and Trent Boult, who really operated very well in tandem. And I think this pitch will definitely suit them, because they know the conditions, they know how to bowl to the batsman, as they have played in these conditions a lot. And it would be also interesting to see for Sri Lanka whether they are able to deal with the wind, because there's a lot of wind in the Basin Reserve in Wellington, as you know, and the bowlers have to really they have to really adjust themselves to bowling against the wind, bowling towards the wind, bowling with the wind. A lot of things come into the picture, but I'm sure the New Zealand have more knowledge of the conditions, so I'm sure Tim Southee, Trent Boult and Neil Wagner would be making good use of the conditions. And it would be interesting to see whether Mark Craig, the random off spinner, would be left out, and Doug Bracewell would come in and strengthen the pace department. It will be interesting to see what New Zealand does. Well, dear fans and subscribers, I don't have anything else to share. That really puts a wrap on my Cricket Happening show for today. Tomorrow being a Saturday, we all know that it would be a late night cricket show from me, but definitely in the late night cricket show I'll be talking about the second day's play between South Africa and West Indies, and also I'll be giving you a report on the first day's play, and probably, since I'll be doing a late night cricket show, probably you'll also get a second day update on the first test match between the second test match between New Zealand and Sri Lanka, which is going to be played at the Basin Reserve in Wellington, a windy Wellington one could say. That really puts a wrap on my cricket show for today. Thanks for your company and thanks for watching Cricket Happenings on a very constant basis. This is your host Ram signing off for the day. Thank you.